Alright, so we're going to attempt to remove this dash from this 90 Omni. Again, like I said in another video, I've never done one of these. So we're going to learn. I really didn't have plans on removing the dash, but it was requested to do a how-to, so here we are. So I've already got most of the console bezel removed. I got the cluster, it's already out. The steps on that are just basically find the screws down here and it just pops out. There's really not a lot to that. And the same with here, the 2 screws at the top removes the outer bezel, the trim, and then 4 screws on the cluster itself, and then slide it out and pull the wiring out. The steering column is going to be in your way, but you can get it out with the steering wheel still in place. So I'm working on the 8 heater controls, and this one is a Torx screw. There's 2 of them. So we'll take them out. And it looks to me like that's what's going to remove the trim bezel around the heater controls. So bear with me here. Trying to do things with one hand is difficult. I have one of these magnet trays that I throw in the car. When I remove screws, I toss them in there. Normally I would just throw them on the floor, but we put them on eBay. So a lot of people, we sell them every now and then for like an interior trim set, screw set for whatever car we're parting out. Just another way that we try to help save these cars and keep these cars on the road. So yes, remove those 2 screws, and this little trim piece comes out. And then it should be, grab a light. Yep, just 2 screws, one on each side. You see one there, and the other one is at the top. That removes the heater controls. So we'll go ahead and do that next. So remove those 2 screws, and the heater controls, we're able to slide them out. So just as another video I already did on removing one of these from a Daytona, these are similar. So you're going to have the same issues. You're going to have a cable on this side that's hooked to it. You're going to want to get that done, and then of course your harness for your light bulb, and then the harness for your blower switch. This one is still good, but it's missing one of the knob for the cool and warm temperature thing, and it actually seems like it might be stuck, but that could be a bad cable. Let me work with this, and I'll show you what I had to do to get that off. Alright, so that actually went easier than I expected. So you can see I got it out. It's the same thing with on the Daytona. You're going to have the cables going to hook on this arm, I believe is what it should have been. It wasn't actually hooked up, but it should be this one here that's pointing down. And then on the back side, you're going to have the same thing. You see that hook on the back side? You're going to push that. This one broke. You're going to want to push that in, and then take you a small flat blade screwdriver and kind of pop it underneath, and it slides right out. And then you have the wiring harness that goes to the blower switch. This is the light bulb. It just twisted in place. And then this one here actually has 2 more wiring harnesses on the back. This one over here was where the vacuum line's hooked up. You can get a little screwdriver in there and pop that clip off, and the vacuum line slid right off. That's a good design. Way better than having to reach all the way up in the dash. So with that said, we now have the wiring harness for the heater controls out. Now we're going to try to figure out how to remove this piece here from below the steering column. And I'm not going to lie, I have no idea. We're going to figure it out though. We're going to mess with it and see if we can figure it out. I'm probably going to go around to the driver's side now, and I'm going to work on the headlight switch, see if I can get that knob for that off, and then kind of get a better feel of this trim panel that goes up underneath the steering column. It feels to me like it's all part of this dash, like this dash is a 2-piece, but I haven't found the screws. But what I know is on the side, when you open the door, there's 2 bolts here. There's little plastic caps that was over those. So it's got me thinking, I wonder if those 2 bolts, if you remove them 2 bolts, how much that allows this lower bezel to come loose. We're going to try that and see what happens. Alright, so I got the ones on the passenger side out already. And believe it or not, that's what I think. That's what holds this lower trim panel on. So you're going to want to just come back in behind here however you want to do it. Whatever tool works for you. With me, since I'm not keeping it I don't care if I scratch it. You might care if you're not wanting to tear it up. But you pop those off somehow. And then you can take your 10 millimeter. I've got a long extension because I didn't have a passenger door. So let's take that off, put it on the ratchet if I can get it on here. Sometimes doing things one-handed is a little difficult, trying to get things to cooperate, so bear with me. So with that there, and this is probably too long. So there you go. And there's two. There's that one and a lower one. And that takes care of those. Now, again, that seems like that might be loose. There might be another one down here somewhere. It acts like there is. That may require getting a light and getting under here and seeing. I'm hoping I don't have to take the kick panels off to gain access. If I do, then we'll figure that out. That's going to be just a couple Phillips screws, but sometimes the screws are hard to get out of there. But yeah, so that definitely lowers the dashboard. And you can see that brings it down a fair amount. It's not completely out yet. It acts like something's holding it up in the center, which there probably is. There's probably a couple bolts or screws up in here somewhere. I'll look at it closer. So with that, I'd be willing to bet you that you're going to have to take this kick panel apart, I bet. Bear with me. Alright, so we got the kick panel off. You can see there's 3 screws. 2 towards the bottom and 1 kind of towards the top. I also had to remove this sill plate. Surprisingly enough, it actually came apart without any fight. That's not normal. Normally those screws will fight you every step of the way. So, in the middle. Alright, so I see 1 screw down there and another one on the other side. And that tells me that's probably what's holding it up in the center. So let's take those 2 screws out and see if that releases the center part of the dash. You're probably wondering about the radio and stuff. I'll get to that here in a minute. Kind of maybe working out of order. The radio in this car didn't light up, it didn't work. I hadn't planned on keeping it because of that, but it could be something with the wiring on this car, or along that line. So I'll pull it and I'll put it in like the GLH or one of our other cars that I know it works. The radio, frequency radio harness works. So yeah, that created more movement here on the dash. We're still bound up down here below somewhere. So now let's go ahead and get this all out of the way, this lower bezel. I still have to figure out how to get this shift knob off. Oh, there it is. Little tiny Allen on the very front. So let me go grab that. All right, so what I thought was an Allen was not. That just popped out the push button, the chrome push knob. So I ended up went in and took the radio out just because I didn't have to fight the wires. So all that was done already. And then this is the center bezel. I don't know what you want to call it. And you kind of lift it out of the way. If your parking brake is not froze, you can pull the parking brake and it gives you room. I just used my socket, and it was 2 13 millimeter bolts, and it came right out of the floor. So with that said, get this out of the way. I still don't know how to get this knob off there, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to unhook the cable, and then I'm going to go ahead and just remove the whole shifter, and then that'll be out of the way as well. So what I found was that front bolt on this shifter is just fighting me every single turn. So rather than get mad, I decided to carry on. So if you look up under here, those 2 holes in the center were black bolts, and then the 2 studs on the outside edges were 2 10 millimeter nuts. That got me a little bit closer, but it's still a little tight. So if I can zoom in, looks like then maybe there's 1 Phillips screw there and 1 on the other side. That might be what's holding it up. It's hard to see from below, so I'm going to see if I can get my screwdriver in there and get them out. All right, here's what I found. This bolt here on the outside of this metal bracket needs to come out. And then on the inside, right there, is another one that needs to come out. What it looks like to me is, I get that bolt out of there the rest of the way. That pulls this bracket out of the way. And then you're going to have the same thing on the other side. You're going to have one nut there, and then down here on the opposite side is the bolt. I'm thinking that may be what's holding us up. I don't think it's them two screws. So let me get this other bracket out of the way, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so that's exactly what was holding it up. These two metal brackets. Toss them in the back. So now you can see the dashboard is this far. So it'll come out. I gotta unplug this wire here that's inside the glove box. I'm assuming it's for the glove box light. Just kind of give it a little twist and pull around on it, and it'll come out. Oh, actually it's a spade connector, so it just pops on. So we got that far. Something is still holding us up on the driver's side, so let me go around there. Okay, so I found 3 more bolts on this side. Actually 4. One, I was able to get it out without it coming apart. That one there should have came out. You got 2 just to the right, towards the passenger side of the brake pedal. You see the one there, and then the hole in the center, and then the far one on the right. Those are the 2 bolts over there, the right and the left. And then another one just right near the hood release cable. And then the other one is just a little bit further to the right from there. And that allowed this whole lower dash to come undone. Now we can unhook the wires for the headlight control, headlight switch. Figure out how to do that. Sometimes they got a clip, sometimes they don't. Let's see if I can get a screwdriver in there and just kind of give it a little wiggle. And I'm sure there's supposed to be a clip. So be careful here, because there's, yep, there is, right here. Right here on the top, like a dummy. It's right in front of my face. There's that one. And there's probably another one on the bottom, you'd guess. Of course, reaching it is not a simple task. But I just work on this a little bit. We'll get this wiring undone. There it is. And then this should, and I say should, come out. There's something else holding it up on the passenger side. Let's get back over there. Alright, so wasn't anything holding it up, it was my stupidness. The clip for the heater control cable got caught in one of these pieces on the lower dash. So it's now out. Lower dash is out of the car. You can see where it is. So I will say this. Although this isn't the most simplest job, nor is it the most difficult, I will say this. An 89 and older is a whole lot simpler, because you literally don't have to worry about separating the dash. Now we got to figure out how to take the upper dash pad apart. Now is where it may be easier. So here, there's the 2 bolts on the sides, and you can see how that's notched. So you can run those 2 bolts halfway out or more, and you could get it out. I would run them all the way out if it was me personally, just to give you more clearance, less that you have to fight. The next one is going to be, my next step is going to be lowering the steering column. Again, it should be similar to an 89 and older with 4 bolts, 4 nuts, whatever, 4 nuts, going from the bottom up towards the roof of the car, towards the windshield. And that column should drop down. They should be 10 millimeter. So we'll go over there and we'll do that next. Alright, so I was wrong. There's 5. I apologize. Up, down, above the brake pedal is 2 on the right side, 1 on the left side, and then there's 2 more. 1 here and 1 on the other side. Behind the 2 upper ones is going to be this washer. Make sure you don't lose that, because when you go to put it back together, you're going to need that. I'm not putting it back together, so in the back seat it goes for the junk pile. So now we got the steering column lowered. It's looking to me like I need to go ahead and run that 1 bolt out that I didn't remove earlier. And the reason why, and my battery just about to die, is because that looks like that's going to need to come out to clear the steering column when you remove the upper dash. So with that said, you will have to remove the driver's side kick panel as well. I just seen this, that outside bolt is tucked back right back in behind this corner here. So looks like 3 screws are holding it on as well. We'll get them out and we'll go to the next step. Okay, so the kick panel's out. Notice this piece of blue trim that's curved, goes up around the top of the column. This one is broke, or I broke it, I don't know which happened. There's a screw on each side, one there and one over here. This one's broke, so it's not even attached anymore. But anyways, remove this screw here, remove the 2 screws there, I should say, and get this piece of trim out of the way, and that allows you access to these 2 bolts. And what that does is this bracket goes all the way down, and that's the one that runs below the steering column. And again, that's just so you can clear the steering column without pulling it. And there's this bracket. It's now out of the way. Big metal bracket. You're going to want to keep that. You're going to keep all the bolts separate. I'm not. In the back seat it goes. So, one thing about a car like this one, it has a big gaping hole in the bottom. Parts have a tendency to fall through when they come out, but that's okay. We'll clean it up once it's on the trailer and out of here. Now, we're going to go back up to the passenger side and go to the top of the dash. And theoretically, removing those 4 bolts across the top and then the 2, one on each side, the 2 that are back here, should lower this dash. So before I go up there, I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 on the sides. This way they're done and out of the way. So once I get these 4 on the top, I don't have to worry about the dash falling on me. Alright, so took a quick break. Wife called, so dinner was ready. So I had to go in and do some dinner. Was able to warm up a little bit. So now we're back out here to finish this video. So on a 90, you're going to remove these caps. That's going to reveal that bolt. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, and then 1 clear over on the driver's side by the VIN tag. That one's already loose. There's that one, and then we can reach this one from over here, and it just went flying. So I thought they would be 10mm, but they're 8s, which is fine. This one here isn't even, it literally just came out in my hand. And then this one here, same way. So it appears the other 2 are still attached. So let me get my 8mm and we'll run them out. Okay, got those 4 out. And the dash is loose, but it's not ready to come out. Something else is still holding it in here. Now on a 89 and older, the dash would come out. So I got to figure out now what's holding this pad in next. So let's figure that out. Okay, what I found was the A-pillar trim was kind of tucked back in, blocking this section of the dash from coming out. 2 screws hold that in, but then you got to remove this big metal bar that goes across the front of the headliner at the top of the windshield. That comes off first. There's 2, 3, 5 screws that holds that in. It's a piece of metal, painted metal. So you remove that. The 2 screws holding the A-pillar trim in and gently pull it out. And that got me to this far. So we're further now. So here we go. Now the dash is almost out. Now we can unplug the blower resistor. Go down here to this nice nest. And go down here and check what wires we can unhook from the back side and get them out of the way. There's your vacuum lines that run to the HVAC. This is hooked to there. Let me go around the other side and see what we got. Real quick, step back a little bit. This here, I pulled this out. This sits down below the dash, like would be like behind where the radio is. And there was 2 screws holding it in, but of course it wants to fall. So there was 2 screws. It looked like there would have been another one there, but it was already broken, and another one there. But there were 2 screws here, and that allowed this piece to come out of the way. I don't know for sure if it needed to come out, but it gave more clearance. So it's a possibility. So let's go around here to the driver's side, see if we can figure out what's holding us up over here now. All right, so what I found, these, at least the two right ones, screws here, are holding the fuse panel in place. So I loosen them up, and that allows the fuse panel to get out of the way. Sorry for the poor lighting, working with what I have. My good light, I don't know where it is right now. I'm too lazy to go hunting for it. So with that done, that should allow that fuse panel to get put out of the way. And we shouldn't have to take this third one out, but we might have to yet. I haven't gotten that far. Actually, it's not even the fuse panel. That was just some relays or something. Oh, that's the horn, or the turn signal. I can't think what it's called. I'm drawing a blank. Anyways, there's your fuse panel. It mounts to the back of this. I'll figure out how. Okay, so back behind this plastic here, see my hand, kind of hard to see, there's a 7/16 nut with wires back right about here on the back side. So it'd be right in here somewhere. Actually, it's probably right here. Nope, that's not it. It's on the other side of this plastic. You can't see it, but you can feel it when you go back in behind. You'll feel there's a nut and a couple wires. Those are the ground wires. And then there's two screws down below here. You can see the holes here and the hole over there. It sits up this way. So from the bottom, there's two screws that hold the fuse panel to the bottom of this bracket. That gained me a lot more space. So the next thing we have to do is get the wires unsnapped. Let's see if I can get a light up in there. If you look, that gray thing right there, those push in, those go around the wires, and then it pushes into the back side of the dash panel. If you can get them apart, so I can see two from here, then you can get the wiring out of there. So what I've always found on the older ones is that the heating duct work, that long, oh, this thing is way out of focus. It's that black smooth thing. That's your defrost duct work and your vent duct work. You may have to remove that as well. There's Phillips screws on the back side, and sometimes they can be kind of a pain to get to. So let me work on that next, and we'll go from there. Okay, so there's two options. One, like I said, you can kind of roll the dash over and try to get everything unhooked from the back side, or I remembered that I told you earlier to disconnect the harness out on the outside of the firewall. That will slide through that hole, and that's what this is here, and then that allows you to get all of this out. So what you have to do to get it the rest of the way is unplug this green plug. There's a black one down here, and then this one here should run to the door dome light button. It runs to the back side of that, and the other one I believe is the speaker wire for the door. And it should just slide on the dome light switch. Should just snap in place. It's probably not going to. It's probably going to fight me. And that's, oh, I need to do this better. And that's what this is. And then this wire, the green and white one, should be for the speaker. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to cut it. I would not recommend cutting it. You're going to want to actually undo it. So to try to shorten this video up some, because it's already drawn out, we're going to go ahead and unsnap this. Hopefully. It's just getting a hold of anything is tough. Okay, so we didn't have to cut the speaker wire. That's this wire right here. It actually was inside the firewall as well. So we was able to unplug that. So we got everything unplugged. I got one more wire I found. Runs the brake light switch. Everything's unplugged. Now, theoretically, this dash should come out. Probably easy to go out the passenger door because you don't have to fight the steering column. But let's see if there's anything else hanging it up. Okay, so I did find it. Wires on the passenger side. Same thing. Your dome light switch and your speaker wires. They came undone. So next thing was the ABS module. These wires are plugged in on the back side of this and underneath it. It's easier just to remove the 3 bolts. They're 8 millimeters. Got 2 there and 1 down there, and the whole thing comes out just like that. Hopefully yours isn't as nasty as this one is. Okay, back to the driver's side. It's just like back and forth, back and forth. This works better if you have 2 people. Unfortunately, I only have myself. So you gotta unplug the ignition switch and the steering column wires up on top of the steering column. They should just wiggle out like so. Keep in mind, this stuff is ancient and been sitting here for how many years. So now, that said, this dash should come out of here. Get all the wires to clear the steering column. Let's go around the other side and see if we can pluck this dash out of this car. This is all, like I said at the beginning, something I was not planning on doing. So to the gentleman that requested this, I hope you're happy. But there we go. We have succeeded. We have removed the lower and the upper dash pad from a 90 Omni. You can see the back side. All the wires are all tucked up in things. You got all the defrost vents and the ductwork and everything for that. So now the request on that was also on removing the heater box. This is your heater box. This one here, mice had definitely made a nice hole in. These aren't as bad. Like I said earlier, you're going to want to remove the AC lines and the pressure block and the heater hoses out from under the hood. Inside the car, once you get the dash out, you'll see this bracket. This is a resistor, and this wire, you unhook this wire. You're going to remove either this bolt or this nut. I normally remove the nut, just easier. Normally I have a 10 millimeter handy, and that takes that nut off. And the reason why, actually it's not a 10 millimeter. It's not even a 13, so it must be a 1/2 inch. Anyways, the reason why is because this bracket is literally what holds it up inside the car. The rest of it holds it up through the firewall. So let me get a 1/2 inch socket. We'll take that nut off. Maybe I can, well, it's because that's probably an 8 millimeter. Let's see if an 8 millimeter works on that. We'll just take it off instead. Yeah, and trying to do this stuff one-handed is not fun. And then you can bend it out of the way if you want. But we're still going to need to unplug this wire. It should just be a push pin, push clip. But it's not looking like it is. Oh, you flip that up. And it's stuck, and there it goes. So then, well, you know what? I'm wrong. We do need to take that nut off. Well, you will, because this is a ground wire. Runs there, that's what grounds it at that resistor. So undo this nut instead of this bolt. Alright, so that nut was a 7/16. Apologize. And that will allow, that is this little bracket here. And then your resistor comes out with it. There's your plugs. And then here's your ground wire that was hooked to the back of that. So that gets that all the way. Now you can see this is kind of loose already, but now we got to go under the hood and remove all of that. So let's get that done. Okay, so 13 millimeter, again, between the 2 lines. You'll have this ground wire. That's an 8 millimeter there, or a bigger one up here. You can leave it hang if you want. So then back inside there, you got those 2 star heads. You're going to have to remove them next to get this block to clear the firewall. If you don't remove this switch, that will not fit through the firewall. Okay, there's your block. Don't forget you got to unplug this little plug here. But there's your block. There's your 2 Allen bolts. And they just slide down in there. You'll probably want to replace this with a new one. And then this is what you're left with on the back side. That will clear the firewall now. So now we're going to go over here. We're going to remove those 2 heater hoses. Again, the reason you have to remove those is because they will not fit through the firewall attached, especially with the heater control valve right there. So let me get those off now. Okay, heater control valve successfully removed. Me personally, I undo the clamps, get them out of the way, and then I just cut the hose and then use a flat blade screwdriver getting behind it to kind of break it free. Normally, you're going to replace that anyways. So normally I wouldn't keep heater control valves just because they're fragile and plastic, but I know, at least I don't think, they make them. So we'll go ahead and put that one there up there on the to keep pile. So anyways, back to this. So now that you got the heater hoses off and the AC line all undone, again, you're going to go back to these 3, I think that one's 1, 2, but you're going to go back to them and remove those. They should be a 10 millimeter. So let me get my 10 millimeter. Okay, so you can see the heater hoses is already kind of pushed in a little bit, and then the AC block is also pushed in. You just push it with your finger and it literally falls in. So let's go over here, back to the passenger side, and take it apart and get it out of there. Now, as long as everything's unplugged, everything's unhooked, you shouldn't have any issues. Hopefully we don't have any issues. This thing should, theoretically, come right on out of there. It's hard with one hand again, but I'm going to try it. There we go. Just give it a little bit of finesse. Boy, the mice love this dash. Or this heater box. So, with that said, you now have the heater core out. And there's that. You can see the holes where the AC lines, where the bolts and the nuts, and the heater core. Those nuts were 7/16, by the way, not 10 millimeter like I thought. So, the little addition to this video, I'm not going to do it. However, if you want to convert one of your automatic cars to a manual transmission, and you want to replace the clutch pedal assembly, you're going to need to remove all this stuff besides the heater box. You're going to need to remove the entire dash like we just did. You're going to want to remove the steering column. And then you're going to take this bracket apart. I'm not going to go into full details because I can do that on another video for an actual manual transmission car. But that's where you need to get to that as well. So with that said, I appreciate you following and watching this long video. Sometimes I apologize for the video being bouncy or jumpy, but again, doing it one-handed is a little difficult. But it took me longer than I should have, but it wouldn't have taken me as long if I wasn't stopping and doing videos, you know, to help you guys out. So I appreciate you watching. If you like this kind of stuff, you like these little cars, you want to know more about them, please let me know. Don't be afraid to comment if you want to see another how-to. I'll do my best to get it accomplished for you. So like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends, share with whoever, and let's work together and keep these little cars on the road. I thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.